A land of vibrant diversity, where majestic mountains, serene valleys, and endless oceans blend in harmony. Ancient temples and lively cities pulse with spirituality. From misty horizons to sandy shores, it bewitches with its mysteries. Yes, I'm talking about India. Today we embark on a captivating thought experiment about India's past and its untold potential. In this 21st century, India is a nation filled with multi-million-dollar companies, bustling urban centers, and a vibrant democracy. But take a moment to wonder, what if history had taken a different path? What if the British had not made their mark on this ancient land? I will be attempting to answer all these questions by exploring the untold possibilities. I will delve into the echoes of pre-colonial, colonial, and post-colonial India, carefully considering the economic, social, political, and environmental facets of each era, which will help us make speculations for the what if. Before colonization, India had a robust economy, sophisticated trade networks, and flourishing industries. The nation was renowned for its trade networks that extended throughout Europe, Africa, and Asia. Spices, textiles, gemstones, and other goods were traded in these regions by the vast network of Indian merchants, making India a vital player in global trade. Famous commercial hubs like Surat, Calicut, and Murshidabad attracted traders from all around the world. By the 17th century, the Mughal Empire, the largest empire at that time, constituted 24% of the world economy. India's legacy dates back to the Mayura Empire in 322 BC. The Mayura Empire was among the first few to use coins, indicating a well-developed early monetary system. India's legacy was spoken about by various foreign travelers, including Megasthenes, Fahim ibn Battuta, and Marco Polo, who all praised India's prosperous trade networks, skilled artisans, and thriving bazaars. This thriving economy would have continued to grow at an astounding rate if not for the British colonization. India's major trade success was attributed to traditional industries like textiles, handicrafts, and metalwork. However, with the establishment of the British East India Company, heavy taxes were imposed on these goods, rights were stripped away, agriculture was completely altered, and widespread famine struck the subcontinent. British manufactured goods were favoured over Indian ones through trade policies which restricted Indian trade and caused the decline of several industries, local artisans, and craftsmen. The grimness of the situation could be summarized by the words of the East India Company's stalwart administrator, Lord William Bentinck. The bones of the cotton weavers were bleaching the plains of India. In the early 1800s, India had a 25% share of the global trade in textiles, but this did not last. The British also introduced cash crops like opium, indigo, and tea, which were unsuitable for India's tropical climate. It led to a change in land use from food production to commercial purposes, and along with the undisturbed movement of rice from India to Britain, it led to famine. The profits from the traditional goods that Indians continued to produce were diverted to British merchants. Indian men essentially made goods, gave them to British merchants, and then also paid taxes. As a result of these activities, an estimated $45 trillion in today's value has been stolen from India, including its most priceless jewel, the Kohinoor diamond, a symbol of its rich cultural heritage. While there were several negative economic impacts, it is essential to acknowledge the beneficial influence of Britain on India. They built modern infrastructures such as railroads, bridges, roads, and telegraph lines, which helped connect the country by making traveling and communication easier. They also brought in brand new technologies in the sectors of transportation, manufacturing, and communication, which helped shape India into what it is today. Similarly, the British also helped expand India's trade network by connecting it with the British Empire's vast colonies. While the British brought modern infrastructure to the nation, it does not compensate for the damage caused because India went from being one of the wealthiest countries to one of the poorest. From the lush tropical rainforests of the Western Ghats to the fertile Gangetic Plains, India's landscapes were enthralling. There was extensive agriculture with crops grown specifically for each region's climate. Indian society was deeply rooted in natural reverence with a long history of environmental stewardship and sustainable practices. These practices did not last long due to colonization, as India's environment was profoundly altered by the British rule. They severely exploited India's natural resources, which resulted in deforestation, soil erosion, and ecological degradation. The plantation of money crops such as indigo and jute led to agrarian distress, while the practice of monoculture led to soil depletion and water scarcity. Performing unregulated mining to obtain India's rich minerals contributed to the loss of biodiversity. The Britishers also indulged in carefree hunting, which fueled the decline and extinction of several species. While we cannot say that the environment would have been carefully conserved if India wasn't colonized, considering the worldwide loss of biodiversity in the past few centuries, it is safe to say that it wouldn't have been to this extent considering that India would have continued with its traditional practices. Politics is an area where nations across the globe have seen major changes in the past few centuries due to the shift from absolute monarchy to other forms of government, and India is one of them. Before British colonization, India had many kingdoms and empires, each with its distinct culture, governance, and administration. The most prominent ones at that time were the Mughal and Maratha empires and the Kingdom of Mysore. The Mughal Empire was founded by Babur, which at its peak had controlled north, central, east, west, and parts of southern India. It was known for its cultural and architectural achievements under rulers like Akbar and Shah Jahan. The newly established Maratha Empire, under its brave Peshwas, quickly expanded to large parts of current-day India. The empire had a rich cultural heritage with a focus on promoting art, literature, and music. The Kingdom of Mysore, a mighty power in southern India, was well known for its ingenuity and resilience. Its innovations such as Tipu Sultan's rocket technology were well ahead of its time and was even considered better than the British rockets. He also fought fiercely against British expansion through the Anglo-Mysore Wars. During the colonial period, the kingdoms were converted to princely states, which were only semi-autonomous as the British administration had some degree of influence and control over them. The British also introduced the idea of democracy, which is now ingrained in the political landscape of India. In addition, they established the foundation for the Indian judicial system and civil service, both of which have contributed to India's stability and order. The British Westminster model serves as the foundation for India's parliamentary and judicial structures, making it the largest democracy in the world. The Indian Constitution, which guarantees fundamental rights to all citizens, was also largely influenced by the British. While India benefited from the modern ideas that were brought in, the British held a lot of power which they used to centralize the long decentralized governments that led to loss of regional autonomy as seen by the formation of princely states. Similarly, they held all the legislative power which allowed them to have exploitative economic policies and make repressive laws that fueled conflicts within the Indian population. They severely oppressed Indians, an example of which is the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. This incident happened on the 13th of April 1919. In response to a peaceful protest against unlawful arrests, the British killed unarmed Sikh men, women, and children. Finally, at the end of the British Raj, Britain appointed a lawyer named Cyril Ratcliffe to draw lines in British India to divide it into the Hindu state of India and the Muslim state of Pakistan in just 36 days. And mind you, he had never been to India before that. This partition caused 15 million people to migrate across borders, which led to 1 to 2 million of them dying and at least 75,000 of them getting raped or abducted. This division made by Britain in a hurry to leave has had a profound impact on the peace of the countries and their diplomatic relationship. Overall, while the British Raj established India's democracy and constitution, I believe it does not make up for the inhumane massacres and their carefree attitude towards the division which ruined millions of lives. When it comes to the social aspect, India had a rich and varied social fabric. People celebrated a plethora of festivals throughout the year, which provided opportunities for communities to gather and strengthen social bonds. The subcontinent was well known for its religious diversity and tolerance. It was home to followers of Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and various others. The credit for its high religious tolerance can be partly given to the ancient concept of Sarva Dharma Samabhava, which means equal respect for all religions. This led to rulers in pre-colonial India adopting policies that respected the rights of individuals to practice their faiths freely. Shrines of different religions were in the same region, and many festivals blended the practices of different religions. People of the Hindu faith, which is a major faith in India, followed a social hierarchy known as a caste system, which divided people based on their occupation and birth. The four castes were Brahmins, priests and scholars, Kshatriyas, warriors and rulers, Vaishyas, the commoners, and Shudras, laborers and artisans. Below all these castes were the Dalits, known as the untouchables. Dalits faced severe discrimination due to their type of occupation. The concept of joint families was also prevalent in India. The idea was to keep multiple generations of a family under one roof to practice unity and develop a support system. Due to its rich history and religious diversity, the subcontinent developed numerous languages and a multitude of dialects, which has led to the formation of many music and dance forms such as Bharatanatyam in Tamil Nadu, Kathak in North India, Kuchipudi in Andhra Pradesh, and Garba in Gujarat. One social practice that was common in certain communities of India was known as sati. It is the act of a widow voluntarily sitting atop a deceased husband's funeral pyre as a form of sacrifice. This practice was mostly prevalent in current-day Rajasthan among the Rajput clans. As the British arrived, many positive reforms were made. They helped abolish sati, female infanticide, and human sacrifice. They also brought advancements in medical science in India, as they established hospitals and colleges and introduced Western practices which helped widen the knowledge of the field of medicine in India. When it comes to the negatives, the British exploited the economy and caused agrarian distress, leading to famines that have killed over 35 million people. They developed racial hierarchies leading to unethical treatment of Indians and turned Indians against one another multiple times by making the Hindu caste system more rigid and deepening division between the Hindus, Muslims and Sikhs. They were promoting internal conflicts among the Indian population because their strategy for conquest was divide and conquer, which refers to separating an united population by manipulating them against one another to reduce their power and conquer them. This, along with the ill treatment of local artisans and the division by the British, severely damaged the once united and culturally rich country, the effects of which are prevalent to date, as seen by the unrest between India and Pakistan. While it is essential to discuss the negatives of the British rule, we have to acknowledge the positives too. They brought modern infrastructure like telegraph lines and railways, which made communication and connectivity better. They also introduced novel concepts and technologies, laying the groundwork for India's modernization and industrialization. If India had not been colonized, we might have avoided numerous social struggles, saved millions of lives, and our culture could have flourished further with skilled artisans continuing to pursue their art and farmers cultivating their regional crops. However, we might not have developed as modern as a society had a structured government or possessed the technology we do today. It is plausible to imagine that an uncolonized India would have been among the wealthiest and culturally rich countries with a vast trade empire and one of the strongest cultural influences on the rest of the world. Despite the damage caused by the British colonial rule, India's strength and diversity have prevailed. Today, as a dynamic nation, it forges ahead, drawing from its rich heritage. Embracing progress while preserving its culture, India stands still, reminding us of the incredible potential that lies within its people and their united spirit. Thank you so much for watching.